Okay.
Okay. Well, good evening and welcome to Live with the Organizer Coach. I'm Tammy O'Neill and I'll be your host this evening. I'll be introducing our guest speaker after I share a little bit with you tonight about my background and what we're going to be discussing. So I am a professional organizer and I specialize in ADHD, chronic disorganization, and hoarding. I'm also an accredited ADHD coach. And so this is the month of October that we are celebrating ADHD awareness. And I am just so honored and thrilled to have our guest speaker tonight, Dr. Jantel Jordan has joined us, and she will be sharing with us ideas about parenting neurodiverse children. And I can say from my own experience, it's a challenge and I love every minute of it. So she's going to give us some tips and tricks. She'll also put her information into the chat box and contact information. So if you have questions and you want to reach out to her, I'm admitting here, so if you want to reach out to her and ask her questions, she's also accepting patients, new patients with the Great Life Counseling Center. So the organizer coach, I have been in business for a long time, and I would love to talk with you, to connect with you, and you can do that by calling me or texting, or you can email. And my email number and, of course, the website is theorganizercoach.com, or you can call me or text me on my number is 304-834-5678. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you Dr. Jantel Jordan. She and I go back several years. She was a guest maybe last year or 2 years ago, and talking about ADHD. And I want to tell you, Dr. Jordan, that it was fantastic because I had several people ask how to reach out to you and follow up with you. And so they really appreciated all your information and your tips and tricks and joining us. So, Dr. Jordan, if you would like to share a little bit about your background and what your specialty is. So I'm going to ask you to take the floor, okay?
Okay, thank you so much for the introduction, Tammy. And like she said, I work at a private practice in Addison, Texas. And I I work with children, so 3 years old, all the way up to elderly, like geriatric population. I provide individual, couples, and family therapy. And specialty wise, I do, like Tammy said, I will have a lot of clients who have ADHD. And it could be coming in to get assessed for ADHD. So as school age children, or it could be an adult. And it could also be people who have been diagnosed and are just trying to figure out like how to cope and how to go on with daily functioning. I do get some questions about ADHD versus anxiety and what that looks like. And so trying to differentiate if this is like, if I have ADHD or if this is just like how my anxiety is developing and playing out in my life. I also specialize with trauma, multicultural and diversity issues, LGBT plus, and gender identity issues. Let's see, I think that's pretty much my specialty kind of area. But yeah, I am taking new clients. Yes. We do also offer a group at our Addison location that will be starting, I believe it's starting next month and will be going into January, that is actually specifically for parents of children with ADHD. So, and I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end.
Okay. And I want to tell you also that there is another monthly support group for, and it's through CHAD, which is Children and Adults with Attention Deficit Disorganization. And it's the North Texas CHAD chapter. And they do virtual meetings monthly, the fourth Monday of each month. And I send that information out. In fact, it was in the recent newsletter. Chad had who to contact, and their meetings start at 7:00. And again, everything is virtual, but it's for all North Texas area. Okay, so tell us. I'm going to hit you right off.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, so in parenting a child with a neurodiverse brain, tell us first of all, what are some of the challenges that you hear about from parents?
Okay. And so just the caveat that I'm going to do some self-disclosure throughout tonight. I mean, it's who I am as a therapist, because I actually have and live with ADHD. And so it'll be some of my own personal stuff and like family things, and then also like what I've seen from clients. But one of the main challenges that I see are parents are burnt out. They're like, we've done everything that we could think of. Like they gave us all these lists and charts, and we're doing rewards, we're trying to do consequences, and we're just tired. We don't have the capacity to do all of this every single day, to help our child get to where they need to be. And so the first thing is just like realizing and validating that that is normal. You are going to be tired. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to be burnt out. And it's actually similar to what your child is going to be feeling. So that's one of the biggest ones that comes up. Medication is another one that comes up with ADHD becoming more, I will say in the last 5 to 10 years, more known, more popular, if you will, and with high school, middle school, with grades getting into college, there's a lot of competition for higher grades. And so, having a stimulant will help me be able to do more. And so there, you do see some people who end up medication seeking to be able to perform better than their cohort and things like that. So a lot of people who are parents who are concerned about the medication part, medication also impacting weight. So it can act as an appetite suppressant for some children. And so that is a big concern for parents, and it can impact sleep, because if you are taking a stimulant, there are non-stimulant medications that you can use for ADHD, but most of the go-tos that people know, Ritalin, Adderall, Vyvanse, those things are going to be stimulants. And so children can't go to sleep. They're wired, they're up. And it's like, okay, so how do I get them now to calm down towards the end of the night to be able to go to sleep? And then habit forming. Even with my adults, I will say there's a lot of concern about, if I'm taking this medication to help me focus, to help me or decrease my impulsivity and stay on task, stay organized, do I have to take this for the rest of my life? Is it going to get to a point where I'm going to need a higher dosage or more because my body is getting used to it? So there's a lot of concern about just the addictive properties of whatever medication they're receiving for to treat their ADHD. And then one thing that I will always tell parents is it's not just medication. Medication without proper psychoeducation therapy is not going to work, which is a lot of reasons why I get parents who are frustrated, because they've gotten tips and tricks from physicians, or maybe whoever their prescribing physician is. And it's like, okay, I'm doing it, however they explain, but I don't really know if I'm doing it right. I'm doing it to how I think it's supposed to be done. And so not having that coaching or training on these are different ways that you can do it. And this is like what is specific to your child, because ADHD is going to look completely different in every single person. Um,
I'm
so those,
so glad that you say that.
Mhm.
Many of my clients tell me, they'll say, well, my uncle has ADHD and he doesn't do this and he doesn't need this kind of medication. And I say, well, we're all different and our bodies are completely different. So if you're considering medication, that's something you need to talk with your physician
Mhm.
and not take it upon yourself to diagnose it.
Right. And then also realizing that the symptoms that come up that are related to ADHD, like in the diagnosis, first of all, you can have symptoms and not meet full criteria for ADHD. And then if you do meet full criteria, all of those symptoms can change. Like I've even noticed a change in my own presentation in the last 5 years. And so as you grow and get older, like the difficulties, it may look different. Okay, so I've learned coping or ways to cope with, let's say, keeping on schedule, like meeting deadlines. But now there's something else in my life period that I wasn't a thing, and now it is, and I'm having to address it. And so it's not like, okay, this is what my ADHD looks like and it's going to be the same exact thing for the rest of my life. It's something that is like a flexible living kind of document, if you will. And so that's one of the frustrations with parents, because it's like, okay, well, I'm doing this one thing, you said do this one thing, and it's like, okay, it may have worked that one time or this several times, but now it may, like, their symptoms may be different, and so you may have to alter it just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something that people don't realize.
Yes. It's interesting too, because that's one of the things that I share with my clients is the only thing that's consistent with ADHD is the inconsistency. And that's just like you said, something may work, it'll work for a while and then you've got to switch it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The bandwidth doesn't.
Yeah, that's the complexity of ADHD. And then that's if it's in a vacuum, right? And so we're not adding on other stressors or things that could be going on in addition to that, like with the pandemic and students being at home, with parents working from home, and that stress also, and how that impacts ADHD, if that creates some kind of mood things that are situational. And so ADHD may look a little different. Like we're not thinking of all of those at the same time. And so that's something to give credence to as well, of like what's going on and how complex ADHD really can be.
Mm-hmm. Tell me, Dr. Jordan, what are your thoughts on sharing with your children or child? Look, this is how your brain is wired, or educating them about the brain, or do you think it's better that parents just pretend that there isn't anything wrong and continue to make excuses?
Oh no. That's like the older. So when I was growing up, like and going to school in the 80s. So yeah, I'm older. I know I don't look that old, but I am. It was something that you just have to work harder. You're not trying enough. Like you just need to spend more time doing it. Teachers would say, oh no, I think there's something else going on. And it'd be like, no, you just need to focus. And even into adulthood, like and going to college, it wasn't until I went to college and they were like, okay, we need to test you for something because this just doesn't make sense that you're spending this amount of time trying to do like one assignment that may take someone 30 minutes, you're spending 5-6 hours on. So for me, when I finally got diagnosed and figured out what was going on, it was like, wait, so I didn't have to live like that? I didn't have to like wake up at 3 a.m. when the house was completely quiet just to like study or do homework, reading the same sentence 30 times because like I keep getting lost. Like it was like things could have been easier. Like, huh? No. And so I tell all of my clients, you don't have to live like that. Like, whatever life you feel like you have right now, you have the ability to change it. And it's so important for children to understand what's going on with them. So one of the things that I will do first is psychoeducation, not only for the child, but for the parent. And sometimes I'll do it at the same time. So individually, I may, because the verbiage is going to be different. I'll explain it to each of them. And then having family sessions where we can do things together so they can see like, okay, if they come to me and techniques and coping skills are working and then they go home and it's like, well, I did the same thing you said and it didn't work. Okay, well, I need to be able to observe that. So then I can say, oh, it was maybe the tone in which you said it that triggered something else, or maybe like being able to observe the nonverbal communication of the child of them being tired. And so that idea that you can give like 10 tasks for someone to do, and your average person may be able to go through them, you may only be able to give one, maybe two to someone who may have ADHD, because they could get lost in the other ones. And it could seem overwhelming. Like I have all of these things I have to do, and I don't think I have enough time to do it. So I just don't do any of it. That procrastination comes in.
Yes. Well, thank you for endorsing that. I think it's so important to understand and age appropriate information and make it very clear to them. It's not an excuse. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Absolutely not. That these are superpowers,
Mhm.
right? That we
Explain, like I will explain medication and what it does to their brains and how it helps them or how it could not help, because I also check for things like that may be side effects of the medication to figure out if dosage is right, to be able to communicate to their prescribing doctor or nurse, like, okay, that we may need to look at this because either it's not working or it's doing too well. Like we want them to be able to still learn the coping skills, because at the end of the day, we're not going to depend on the medication. Like the medication is going to help your brain like be able to focus, like so executive functioning, it's going to work in that, but you have to be able to do the action part. And so it's not enough just taking the medicine. It's the action part and the repetition and the structure that's behind it that actually helps you get, because it's not like you get over ADHD. You just learn how to cope with whatever your area of growth is.
absolutely. I love that. I have had several parents ask me, well, Tammy, you're going to outgrow these, right? My kid's going to outgrow this. And I said, this isn't something that anybody outgrows. It's how you learn to manage, like you were saying. And looking at it, again, I look at it as superpowers, not as a detriment or anything like that. So,
And then also, it's important for parents to understand too that ADHD just doesn't impact school. So it can impact them when they're older at work. It impacts them at home, which is probably some of the frustration that parents may see in getting them to complete some of like school assignments or chores and things like that. But it also impacts their social relationships and their self-esteem. And so those are, well, and sleep. I would say sleep is a big one too. And so it's important to have those conversations with your children, because it may be like they're having difficulty connecting with other people at school and not realizing that, oh, that may be due to one of their ADHD symptoms. And so then you all figuring out a workaround on how can I connect with them, or thinking like I'm different, like in the self-esteem, something's wrong with me. I have to take medicine in order to be able to sit still. I used to, my mom would say sometimes, like, why can't you just think normal? Like, just, it's too much work trying to think like how you think and how you process, like, just do what the normal people do. And it's like, do you think that I would not do that if I could? Like, it would make it easier for both of us. And so realizing it's not something that the that the child is choosing. This is just like what they were born with, and they're trying to do the best they can, just like you're trying to do the best you can. And so being able to have that open communication and using simple and encouraging language is going to be so important, not only for the relationship growth of the parent, guardian, or caregiver and the child, but also like teachers and things like that.
Oh, I love that too. I love that. You know, anytime that we talk about something I read here recently about with an ADHD child hears more negative vocabulary than their neurotypical child. You want to talk about that?
Yes. So this is something that actually comes up a lot with my adult clients as well. The children will hear it like school age with report cards and things like that, as far as like sit still, like you're not sitting still, you're disrupting everyone else. First of all, I don't know who made the rule that like a child can sit still for 8, 12 hours, however long school is for them, like, and sit in the same spot without moving. And so sometimes I may have to talk to parents and teachers about, okay, they may need like a pool noodle on their chair so they can just rotate that and get stimulation. They may, because fidget toys used to be something that we could do. And now it's like, no, they may need like a ring or a bracelet or something to be able to help them kind of focus in on that. But see, here goes my ADHD. I just lost what you were saying. And it's that simple. So I will share a lot with my clients too, like my own experience, just normalizing that it's not this like you have leprosy or something like that. And so you need to go sit over here. But it's like, okay, you're human. And I mean, expecting you to know and do everything, like that's unrealistic. And so with our society, it is becoming more known, like ADHD. The word is out there and related to medication, but not really like the impact that it has on like the person and how they view themselves in society and being able to be a productive member of society. That's one thing that I appreciate in being able to disclose. It's like, okay, yes, you may hear these things from your parents or from teachers or other people in charge, but I have ADHD and I'm sitting here trying to tell you how to work with your ADHD. And then if both of our ADHD starts, if we get in the brain fog period at the same time, we're both here like, and being able to normalize that that's okay.
Yes.
Where we are today, it may look different tomorrow. And so just being able to cope with what you're given and not worrying about like what's going to come tomorrow, because the anxiety then comes in. It's like, okay, being told you have to be perfect. You can't make mistakes like other people can make, like normal people can make mistakes, or you're not normal. Something's wrong with you. Okay, your brain is not neurotypical. So you're functioning, you process things differently. Your response may be different, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't mean that you're not normal because nobody's brain is exactly the same.
Exactly. Exactly. I applaud. Yes, I applaud that. Um, we have just a few minutes left, and I wanted to talk about this because I had a parent just ask me about this with the temper tantrums. Temper tantrums, and not just the young ones, not just the little ones, but the the 8, 9, 10-year-olds where they just can't. They just get so frustrated because they can't process quick enough or a transition time or something, and they just have a meltdown. Let's talk about that for a minute. What are your suggestions, one, in being proactive to help prevent, the meltdown? And then what are some things that a parent can do during this meltdown?
Okay. So with that, I smile because yes, it can be related to ADHD, and children are very smart. And it may be that this child has learned that if I throw a temper tantrum, that I don't have to do certain things. And so it's trying to tease out which one is it, and not just assuming that it's they're just trying to get over on me. But just like the parents are going to be frustrated with trying and doing, like putting all this effort in after they've worked or done whatever they've done throughout their day, the child's going to feel the same way. So think again, someone who has been in school learning things for 8 to 12 hours, and then they come home and they're expected to do homework for 2, 3, 4 more hours. And it's like, so most of their day is going to like just focusing and like on gaining knowledge, and there's not time to exercise to let some of that out. Like sometimes with my kids, we will just shake, we will scream, we will yell. Like exercise and movement is so important in being able to like cope with ADHD. And then realizing if it's happening, so for the parent to keep account and see if it's happening at the same time every day.
Okay. Yeah.
If it's at the same time every day, then that may be their brain fog period if they're taking medication or anything else, which is, so I will explain, I'll say brain fog, because a lot of times people say like, I'm missing like things, like it's not really connecting. It's at the tip of my tongue. It's the medication is wearing down, like wearing out. And so, which is typically when it's almost time to come home. It's coming out of their system. And so it's a little more difficult for them to do the task that you're wanting them to do, the same thing that they did at the beginning of the day when they were fresh. And it's at the end of the day, they don't have any more spoons available. So I will say, okay, so you say each person gets 5 spoons a day. And you go through the activities that you have each day and say, okay, school requires me to use 2 spoons. Getting dressed in the morning, my morning routine. So routines and structure are going to be very, very important. So having a morning routine and a night routine in order to ensure like healthy sleep hygiene is going to be important. So thinking about, okay, so 3 spoons with school, I'll have to use 1 for my morning routine and my night routine. I really only have 1 spoon left for that day. And so if a parent is asking them to do something that's going to require more than 1 spoon, it's like, I'm overwhelmed. I don't have the words. I don't know how to communicate what I'm feeling to you. And you're asking me all these questions, and I'm getting frustrated because I want to know the answers to the questions and I don't have them. So that's frustrating me even more. And it's just too much. And it's like the volcano just erupts.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times, that's why I say the psychoeducation part is very important in the beginning, to allow the children to gain the language. Like I will use art therapy, bibliotherapy, music therapy, and things like that for the children to be able to learn, like, what does their ADHD look like? What are areas that they need help with? Like, okay, we know you're not so great in like staying on task. So maybe you're going to need a timer and some kind of something that is enjoyable for you to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
Or they have cave days for adults where you can sign up for a program and you're just online, like the Zoom. It's other people that are online with you too. And you all are just holding each other accountable of, I'm going to do work during this time. And so it really depends kind of like for the temper tantrum of giving the language to the child, helping them kind of communicate to the parents what it is they're feeling internally. And then for the parents to be able to cipher out, like, okay, it's not just do what I say, but really understanding, like, okay, what would it be like if I couldn't communicate verbally to someone what I'm feeling?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I'm at work and I'm having all the feels, but I can't tell, or I'm having like a problem or something, but I can't tell my manager, supervisor, the owner, or whatever, like what's going on, but it's still like a problem. And they're asking me what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
How would I feel?
Mm-hmm.
And so just connecting it in that way for the child.
I love that. I love that word connection. You've used it numerous times throughout the evening to connect emotionally, physically, verbally, make that connection. I love that.
Mm-hmm. That's very important. We all are humans and we all desire and need connection.
Oh, absolutely. And I like that too, that you said to kids with neurodiverse brains, well, anyone with a neurodiverse brain, they're not purposely trying to get out of something. They're not purposely trying to not do their homework or to lose their papers or lose the keys and they can't find, whatever it is. They don't purposely do that. And so I love it when you say, okay, let's look at this and say, okay, is this a behavior pattern or is this happening at the same time each day? Then we need to look at this. We need to tweak this. What can we put in to alleviate some of that stress kind of thing? Some techniques in there. Love it. Love that.
And also thinking about when you're identifying your child's like specific challenges, also being able to identify what are their strengths.
Yeah.
And so when you change that language as these are things that you're really good at though. And typically it could be like artsy kind of things, the other side, the left side of your brain kind of things, like being able to give them something that, no, you're doing well with this. Because so statistically speaking, females tend to be, so the girls tend to have more of the inattentive type of ADHD. So there's a lot of internal dialogues that are going on, which is why I said self-esteem is something that is impacted, right? Mm-hmm. And they may get overlooked. And it doesn't mean that males cannot have inattentive type of ADHD as well. But those are the quiet ones that aren't going to really disrupt class. And so a teacher may not know, or they're not going to be at home causing a lot of disruption. And so a parent may not know because the child is in their head beating themselves up about everything that's going on that they feel like they're not able to do. Whereas the people who, like children who will have more of the hyperactivity, you'll see it physically, like with the temper tantrums and things like that. And so those types tend to get more attention. And it tends to kind of paint all of ADHD looks like that.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't. You're absolutely right. Yes. Well, I want to thank you. We are at we could talk all night on this subject. So, and I thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Jordan, because it is your knowledge and expertise and your authenticity. I love it because that's what we are, our brains, we're all human. We all need that connection. And I love it that you're so willing to share that with us. And I see where you have entered your information into the chat room and a phone number. So if anyone wants to reach out to you, because you are accepting new patients, correct?
Yes. Now the time slots, I know everyone loves evenings. Evenings are hard to come by, but for afternoons, like early afternoons and mornings, yes. Because I'm only in the office 3 days a week now.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And you are in the Addison
location.
Okay.
But everything is virtual as of now still. I'm trying to decide when to go back to in person, and it probably will be my little ones that we go in person first. But there's so many different things and activities that we can still do virtually. So it's been a big issue right now.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Well, I want to thank you so much. We're going to close here, and then I will see you again next month. I will see anyone that would like to join us during the month of November. And we're going to be talking about how much is our stuff worth. So thank you so much, Dr. Jordan.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Mm-hmm. Those of you that have joined, I will be sending out a post link and sending that out, and it will be posted on the website and also YouTube, so people can view at their own time.
And if I could leave parents, guardians, caregivers, teachers with one thing, is patience and remembering to give yourself grace and to give grace to your child. Like it's all about practice, not perfection.
I love it. I love that. Yes. Yes. I always tell my clients it's always just, what you said.
Mhm.
It's not perfection. So,
Mhm.
all
Thank you
right.
so much for having me.
Thank you very much. And we'll talk later. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.